Welcome to our podcast, Growing Give and Take Kids Power Traits for Life. This program is brought to you by Victoria Kindle Hodson and Mary Emma Willis of Reflective Educational Perspectives. They are founders of the Learning Success Institute and Solimar Academy Independent Study Program. They are also co-authors of Discover Your Child's Learning Style and Self-Portrait Power Traits Assessment. Their mission is to give parents and teachers the tools to empower kids to thrive in the real world by focusing on their strength, or as they call it, power traits. Please visit powertraitsforlife.com or reflectiveed.com for more information. You can also check out learningsuccessinstitute.com and solimaracademy.com.
Hello, I'm Victoria, and today we're beginning to unpack the C.A.R.E.S principles. When Miriam and I were writing our book, Discover Your Child's Learning Style, we came up with the slogan, Show your child you are someone who cares. The way we're using it, the word C.A.R.E.S is an acronym. Each letter has a word associated with it that's used to introduce one of our 5 principles. C is for celebrate, A for accept, R respond, E expand, and S switch on. But you notice we don't say celebrate, accept, respond to, expand, or switch on what. That's what we'll be talking about in the next few episodes. What we're calling principles are some very basic ways of interacting with children that they recognize as us showing care for them. After all, if it doesn't show, they don't know that we love them. These principles are at the core of growing give and take kids. We have gleaned them from almost 30 years of working with parents, teachers, and children, and from our own ongoing research and data collection. In this episode, I'll be unpacking the C in the word C.A.R.E.S for celebrate. Celebrate your child. Celebrate is all about seeing, being with, tuning into, and enjoying this child, the one who's right in front of you. It's about cherishing and cultivating the young person who is in your care, who depends on you and relies on your guidance. We bring this up because we often meet parents and teachers who have a picture in their mind of an ideal child or student, usually one who is some variation of neat, quiet, and obedient. With this picture in mind, they proceed to try to make the child fit that picture. We call this growing a child from the outside in, and we see it all the time. In spite of a barrage of have-tos, ought-tos, musts, and shoulds, many dutiful kids who love us dearly try their best to become a person someone else wants them to be. And many of these kids are actually able to do it. In effect, I'm sad to say, we ask them to take on a false or mistaken identity, an ID that many carry into adulthood and for their entire life. Children grown like this from the outside in will always be trying to please someone or other and constantly wondering whether they're doing things right. Some children, though, grown like this, reach their emotional limit and they rebel. They take on an I'll show you attitude and numb to the consequences because they've been grounded and had privileges taken away so often, they end up doing exactly what they're not supposed to be doing. In episode 1, Miriam talked about emotional safety. Emotional safety as the fundamental need for children to thrive. Outside-in approaches that focus primarily on the things that kids should and shouldn't do don't deliver a message of safety and caring to our children. It just isn't going to happen from that disconnected starting point. Primarily because children see themselves as we see them, and what we see and share with them is what they're going to believe. If we see their faults, they will see themselves as faulty, with nothing to share. If we see and celebrate their strengths and gifts, they will see themselves as strong and gifted, with lots to share. If we want our children to grow into their own person, with their own capacity for feeling their feelings, for self-expression, for creative thinking, for reasoning and problem solving for themselves, for enjoying themselves and others. And if we want them to be curious and confident in their world, we need to be introducing them daily from the beginning to their strengths and talents, and we need to be finding ways to celebrate their accomplishments and achievements. There's a wonderful Swahili proverb that says, "The greatest good we can do for others is not just to share our riches with them, but to reveal their riches to themselves." And this is especially important for children. This is an inside-out way of growing a child. And when our children are very young and just showing early signs of their personality, recognize their riches and sharing them seems to be a natural thing to do. I hear parents say things like, "She's a born leader. She'll talk your ear off if you let her. He's in constant motion," or "She has a great imagination, and he's a little scientist." At very early ages, I'm talking about 1 or 2 years old, our kids are showing signs of their strengths, talents, and interests. And when these characteristics are noticed, reflected back, and celebrated, kids begin to find out for themselves how they see, how they feel, and how they think. In this inside-out way of interacting, we observe them, look for clues about how they're responding to their experiences. We look for how they're receiving the world and how they're being in it. We watch and reflect back what we see them doing, and we listen with full attention when they want to tell us about what they are noticing, how they are feeling, and what they're thinking. So in this approach, we have the fun of getting to know our children as they are unfolding into their world and getting to know themselves. In this inside-out approach, we model respect for our child's stages of development and the pace they are moving through them, and the child learns what respectful actions are, how they feel, and how they sound. This is the beginning of growing give and take kids. Of course, the behavior that's unfolding has rough edges and can be challenging at times. This is when you'll see the value of the inside-out approach, because a child who's recognized and celebrated for who they are is much more likely to feel comfortable and safe with you and to trust what you have to say. So this means that when you have guidance or correction to give, they're much more likely to listen. I love this quote from Chaim Gnot, the author of Between Parent and Child. It was in the 60s, I think this book came out, but it's still published and it's still wonderful. He said, "Treat your child as the person you want them to become, and they will become that person. When you're treating them with consideration and respect, that's what they're learning." Celebrating your child has additional positive outcomes, and that's on brain development. 85% of human brain development happens between birth and 3 years old. During this time, the brain expands and makes new connections very quickly. The part of the brain that's selected to grow, though, whether it's the self-protection zones or the zones for reason and compassion, that depends on the environment of the child, whether it's safe or not, whether it's physically safe, emotionally safe, and learning safe, whether it's a place where they can make mistakes and be guided to learn rather than punished. The brain is a safety sensor, and when it senses danger, anywhere in the environment, the protective zone at the base of the head, just put your head at the back of the head where it meets the neck, that area of the brain grows more connectors, so we can be ready in an instant to fight, flee, or freeze. Although when the brain senses safe conditions, more neural pathways and connectors form to the frontal and prefrontal lobes of the brain. Put your fingertips on your forehead. That's the zone. It's called the frontal and prefrontal zone. These are the areas for reasoning, critical thinking, self-regulation, compassion, and empathy. When these frontal lobes are flourishing, it unlocks the child's trust in their world and their capacity to explore and investigate, to manage their own behavior, to be responsible for themselves, to care about others, and to learn eagerly. I wish you well as you celebrate and enjoy the child or the children in your care, as you cultivate them from the inside out and discover more and more ways to create safe environments that grow strong brain pathways to our highest human capacities, the capacities that grow give-and-take kids into give-and-take adults. In episode 3, Mary Emma will be back with you to share the next C.A.R.E.S principle, the A in C.A.R.E.S for accept your role as your child's coach. Until then, please remember, we are always wishing you well. Goodbye for now.